Here are your examples for 5-4. 5-4, the lesson is polygons and angles. So we're going to learn how to discover how many total angles there are in a polygon based on the number of sides. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at our important point here, interior angle sum of a polygon. In words, what they're telling you is the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a polygon is n, whatever number of sides that polygon has, minus 2, and then multiplied by 180, where again n represents the number of sides. So here in symbols is the formula for that. So we have the sum of the interior angles equals the number of sides minus 2, and then multiplied by 180. Let's read further, and it says you can use the sum of the angles measures of a triangle to find the sum of the interior angle measures of various polygons. A polygon that is equilateral, in other words, all sides are the same length, and equiangular, all angles have the same measure, is called a regular polygon. So put these two definitions in your notes and on your vocabulary so that you have most of it done by the end of the chapter. Now let's take a look at what that means. For example, if you have 3 sides, well obviously that's a triangle, and we know that you have 180 degrees. And if you think about that, that would be 3 minus 2, which is 1, times 180. So our answer is 180. So if it has 4 sides, well 2 less than 4, of course, is 2. And recognize that you can see that by seeing that obviously we should all know that this triangle has 180 degrees in it. Well, if you take this 4-sided polygon and you draw this dotted line through here, you end up with 2 triangles. And if you have 180 here in this triangle and 180 in this triangle, obviously you have 2 times 180, or 360. But keep in mind, remember that the way that we get to these numbers here is by subtracting 2 from these numbers here. So we have 3 minus 2 is 1, 4 minus 2 is 2, 5 minus 2 is 3, 6 minus 2, etc. So this is the physical way to try and make sure you can remember that you can take any polygon and segment it into different triangles and figure out how many triangles. But a really quick, easy way to get to this is take the number of sides, subtract 2, and then multiply by 180. So a 4-sided polygon has 360 degrees. A 5-sided polygon has 540 because we're multiplying 2 less than the 5 times the 180. 6-sided would be 720. So all of this is something that you should put on a gold sheet so that you can solve these problems. So let's take a look at a sample problem here. Problem number 1. It asks us to find the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a decagon. Now, if you don't know this, you could easily just use your computer, look it up, or check in the back of the book. I don't know if this one's back there or not, but a decagon has 10 sides. And remember, our formula is the sum equals the number of sides, the n, minus 2 times 180. Well, 10 is how many sides are in a decagon, so we're going to subtract 2 from 10. We get 8. 8 times 180 is 1,440. And it's just that quick and easy. Remember, it's 2 less than the number of sides times 180 degrees, because that tells how many triangles you could segment that particular polygon into. Please do letters A, B, and C. You should know how many sides are in each of these. If you don't, use the internet. All right, let's take a look at problem number 2. Each chamber of a bee honeycomb is a regular hexagon. So in other words, it's going to have 6 sides, like so, there, roughly like that. And then, of course, the next one is over here, etc. You've probably seen this. They call it honeycomb, and you've seen that. Find the sum of the measure of angles. So in other words, because it's a hexagon, we know that it's 6 sides, so we're going to use the number 6 minus 2, which is 4. 4 times 180 is 720. And then it says, find the measure of an interior angle of a regular hexagon. So since we have 720 degrees, and there are 6 angles, we'll count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, If there's if there's 6 sides, that means there's 6 angles. So we simply have to do 720 divided by 6. And 720 divided by 6 is 120. So our interior angle is 120 degrees. Two-step procedure here. First step, use your formula, 2 less the number of sides times 180, and then divide that number divided by the number of sides, in this case 6. Please press pause and do letters D, E, and F. Again, if you don't know how many sides a heptagon or a 20gon, which I hope you should know what a 20gon is, or certainly you should know an octagon, I would hope. If you have to, get on Google and ask there. Okay, we've got another concept that probably, in fact, definitely ought to be on your gold sheet and in your notes. So let's take a look at this for a minute. Exterior angles of a polygon. So we're talking about these angles here. If you extend one of the sides, what is this angle measurement? And basically what we're going to talk about is the total of all those angles. So in a polygon, the sum of the measures of the exterior angles, one at each vertex, is 360 degrees. So no matter how many sides we have, that exterior angle, if you add all those exterior angles up, you are going to end up with 360 degrees. So in symbols, you would say that the measure of angle 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 adds up to 360 degrees. Regardless of the number of sides of a polygon, the sum of the exterior angles measures is equal to 360. So it doesn't matter if you have a 5-sided like here, 4-sided like here, or 3-sided like here. If you add them all up, you are going to end up with 360 degrees. So let's see how we can use that in this problem here. Find the measure of an exterior angle in a regular hexagon. So again, a regular hexagon would have 6 sides. We should know that from our cognates. Let x represent the measure of each exterior angle. So since we have 6 sides, there's 6 angles. So 6 times that measure of angles will give us the 360. So it's a matter of just taking 360. Let's look at it this way. It's a matter of taking both sides and dividing by 6, which of course is really 360 divided by 6, and of course that's 60. So we have 60 degrees. Each exterior angle is 60 degrees. Please do letters G, H, and I. Again, if you don't remember what some of these words mean in regard to number of sides, use Google.